Hi, I'm John Burkey, and I'd like to welcome you to the Student Awareness Program. Our special guest again tonight is Mr. Dave Story. I'd like to welcome you.
Nice to be here, John.
On tonight's segment, we're going to be talking about how to deal with your parents. So this show will be directed really towards kids, but if you're parents, you should watch too, because it can go both ways. I think one of the first things to talk about would be communication, because that's probably one of the most important.
How do we communicate with our parents?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's a good one. Today, and of course in our society today, it's a little harder for kids to relate to their parents. It shouldn't be that way, but it is, and I think a lot of times that the kids need to realize that where a lot of kids today think that if their parents are disciplining them too heavy or something, they can't relate to them or talk with them. But I think if the kids would realize that discipline really shows love. If the parents discipline you for one reason or another, it's because that they really care about you. To where a lot of kids think, well, hey, they're coming down on me or something like that. So I think it's for the kids to know that that the parents, in most cases, really do care. I think with as many broken homes as we've got going today, where there's one parent trying to run the family and do the work and hold down the job and run the family, like in the case of a mother, where kids aren't getting attention that they feel that they need or that they deserve. Consequently, for an example, you know, like there's an age, I understand they say that for a child, as they're growing up, they need their mother a lot, you know, in their early stages, and as they get older, then they need the father image, and there's a lot of sense.
Do you think both parents are really important?
Yeah, without a doubt.
What if there's only one?
Well, then there's definitely a problem. Then the young person, say per se, it would be a boy. He would be searching, reaching out for somebody else. And that's what creates a lot of our problems. But there are organizations, there are people who do care about kids and about guys that can help. You know, if the young person realizes that this is a problem and that they can find help somewhere else. You know, I come from a broken home. You know, so all of a sudden.
You mean the parents are split?
Yeah. So all of a sudden one of them's not there anymore, and naturally I rebelled. You know, I'm thinking, wow, what's going on here? How come my people don't like each other? I thought they loved each other. Last year in the United States, we had 1 million divorces. You know,
well, it doesn't have to turn out bad for the kids, though, does it?
It really doesn't. I think when a kid realizes that he's an individual and that, hey, this is today's part of today's life, and you can make it anyway. You're an individual. You know, you don't have to go bad because you have one parent. If you're just feeling sorry for yourself, well, then go on down to the mental institution and look what's really in there. See some people that really got problems. Go over to the old age home and look at how many grandmas are sitting in there that nobody wants no more. Or how about the 10,000 babies that are born every day in the United States and 1,282 of them aren't even wanted. I go to boys' homes all over the country. They don't have any parents at all. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to adjust, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think you can.
Oh, yes, definitely. So I'd say to the young people, you know, that quit feeling sorry for yourself, really, and take life on what it's really all about. And you're an individual. You can make it. If you have to, you can make it on your own. But there are people who care. Like I said, I care. You know.
Or what if your parents really just don't care? I mean, you really can't. You know, they really can't just go to an outsider and, you know, have everything be okay, you know, because their parents are still there. What do they do? How can they make it better, or what?
That is a problem. There's not much you can do in a case like that, except maybe reach out to the clergy, the church, or a tough love organization, or Peoria hotline. Or we've mentioned a lot of them. There are people who can counsel you and give you, you know, direct, well, like what we do in Idaho, having a ranch up there. We take kids in. I take kids off the streets that don't have.
Do you have any kids of your own?
I have 3. Yes, I have. I'm pretty glad you mentioned that, John. I have 3 illegitimate boys. So.
How old are they? I mean, was this before you turned yourself around?
Yeah, my oldest boy's 21 now, and then the other one's 19 and 18.
Do you still see them?
I see them now. I just met them 3 years ago. I never knew any of them until after I turned my life around.
Yeah.
Then they.
But do you have a good relationship with them now?
I have a tremendous relationship with them, and I've helped them considerably, and duly rights I owe it to them, believe me.
That's really good.
Nobody has to tell me that I do, because I do. But, you know, I was one of those things where, and here's another, well, as long as we're on the subject, we might as well talk about it for a minute. The sex problem in this country is unbelievable. 80% of the teenage boys have already indulged in sexual intercourse, and 70% of the girls, and we got 600,000 unwed teenage mothers in the United States and 9,000 under the age of 11. Consequently, I can relate to that because I've got 3 illegitimate boys. Those weren't things that I wanted to happen. They happened. I messed around. I'm paid for it, believe me. I paid for it for years. For years, I sat around and thought about my kids and why it was that way and why that they had custody and I didn't and all this. And that's the way the cookie crumbles, you know.
So you think that's a big problem also?
Without a doubt, it's a big problem.
What would you do to stop it? I mean, do you think?
Well, we're going to have to do more of what we're doing right now, John. I think what you and I are doing right now, talking about it, discussing it. What are the answers? What can we do? Young people, how can you relate to your parents? I tell you what, one of the biggest problems the young people have today is they won't go talk to their parents. They don't think they know anything.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something, young people, they do know things. Experience is the best teacher. And if you can't relate to your parents at all, then you know that you need to get out and find somebody that you can relate to. And I don't mean just go turn to narcotics and drugs and alcohol. That means go find somebody like myself or somebody like yourself, John, or if they can relate to you easier, or go to the church, or go to Tough Love and say, hey, man, I got a problem. Is somebody here that can help me? Because there are people who care, you see. So there are ways to to meet these problems. There really are. We just need to talk about them, discuss them, and try to reach out. And I think we need to get more people aware of it, more people involved in it. I'd like to see more people get involved in Tough Love. I think it's a great organization for this area especially. From what I've seen in it, they're right on. And I'd like to see more people join that organization. Parents, public. You know, we need lots of people that get involved in this. Listen, I'm just one man. I can only do so much. The only difference in a guy like me is that it's a little easier for me to relate because that's where I came from. I was involved in all those things. I can relate to teenage sex today. You know, I can relate to broken homes. I can relate to suicide. I attempted it many times. I can relate to the crime problem. I can relate to the drug problem. I was a drug addict. You know, I was lucky. One out of few that I ran with that made it. You know. Most of them didn't. That's right. Most of them died on motorcycles, like I should have. Most of them, some of them got shot by the police years ago. Some of them are in the penitentiary right now. Some OD'd on drugs. So you were in a motorcycle gang? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were you the leader? Well, yeah, I guess you might call me the leader. There were several of us at different times, but. Was this in the 60s? Yeah, this was in the early 60s. And where was it? Where were you? In Los Angeles County. And I think you said that one of your talks, didn't you, that you were one of the most wanted people there? Mm-hmm. So we were messed up. We were involved. You know. No, I think here's another thing. While we're talking about, why don't we cover it a little bit? You know, people basically look down on what they call burnouts, or motorcycle gangsters, or riders, or the burnouts per se in school. Like you go out on the south side of school, that's where the burnouts hang. They're not jocks, they're burnouts. See. Consequently, everybody thinks, "Wow, we don't want no part of those people, man." That's the wrong attitude. The people that I rode motorcycles with were people like you and me. In fact, they had hearts just like you and I do, and a lot of, most of the majority of those people were good people. But see, they were people that had problems. They went the wrong way because they had problems, because nobody cared. You see, but what we didn't realize, people did care. You see, I never realized it either, that there were people out here that cared, but I never took the time to go find out either. So what I'm saying, you would have known that then. Definitely. Well, how did you get yourself turned around? Did you just start reading the Bible, or what? Well, things got pretty hot on me. I mean, I went to Vegas 6 years ago, and the FBI run me out. And then I went back to Tahoe, and the police told me they were going to kill me. So it was time for me to leave. So you found you needed help? Yeah, and the one thing that I did remember as a child about God and the Lord. And I moved out and went up into Idaho. I had to get out of that town. I was in trouble. And when I got up there, my brother had gone there prior to me being there, and he received the Lord, turned his life around, when I got there, I did too. And I found out that, hey, that somebody did care, that Jesus came and died for me and you and everybody else, and that he loved me and I was an individual, and then he could give me the strength to overcome the problems that I had. And he was the one who turned my life around. He was the one who see, here's the thing a lot of people don't realize. They think, well, you mean you quit drugs just like that? No, you don't quit drugs just like that. It was something that the Lord started dealing with in my life, working with me. I got involved with the kids right away. I like kids. The high school up there, I give them my gym equipment, weightlifting stuff that I had. They didn't have any. I got to liking them, and the Lord started dealing with my life, showing me, hey, David, how can you be an example for these kids when you're doing drugs? Consequently, I started quitting. And over a short time, I was reading the Bible, reading the Word of God, and feeding on that. It turned my life, man. Who would have ever thought that I'd be out here on the road doing what I'm doing today? Totally turned around. Some of my people that I knew years ago, they still can't believe it. Their story off of drugs, man. Their story's not in the pen. They can't hardly believe it. But hey, here I am, man. I'm living proof that Jesus Christ can turn your life around, man. Yeah. He turned mine around.
Well, I want to thank you a lot for being here tonight. And this is, like I said, this is just one installment of many shows, and there'll be one more. And just kind of listen out for when it'll be on. I want to thank you a lot for being here. Until next time, good night.